Helen had always considered herself a healthy eater. At 70 years old, she prided herself on making homemade meals, shopping at her local farmer's market, and keeping her fridge stocked with what she thought were smart choices. She still remembered the joy of family dinners back in the 60s, where the table was full of roast chicken, fresh green beans, and apple pie made from scratch. Times changed, but Helen did her best to keep those traditions alive. Or so she thought. Last winter, Helen found herself feeling unusually tired. Her energy dipped halfway through the day. Walking up the porch steps became harder. Some mornings, her heart seemed to pound a little too fast after breakfast, even though she hadn't done anything strenuous. At first, she blamed the cold weather. Maybe the lack of sunshine. Maybe just getting older. But during a routine checkup, her doctor looked concerned. After a few tests, the truth shocked her. Her heart was under silent attack. Not from lack of exercise, not from stress, but from food she trusted, everyday choices she believed were safe. The doctor explained that certain foods, even those that seemed harmless, were quietly sabotaging her heart health, increasing her risk for heart disease without her realizing it. It wasn't about obvious junk food or bad habits. It was about small, daily mistakes that added up over time. Helen couldn't believe it. How could something as simple as her favorite sandwich, her morning tea, or a quick snack from the store be hurting her so deeply inside? And today, I need to share what Helen learned, because these hidden dangers are everywhere. You might be eating them right now, without a clue. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the 5 biggest food traps that quietly damage the heart after 60. The same traps that almost stole Helen's vitality. Stay with me until the end. Understanding this could mean the difference between a future filled with energy and freedom, or one limited by preventable heart trouble. And the first food Helen discovered was something sitting right there in her fridge, wrapped neatly in plastic, looking completely harmless. Helen had always loved a good ham sandwich. It was quick, easy, and reminded her of simpler times. A couple of slices of deli meat, a bit of mustard, maybe a pickle on the side. It felt like comfort food. She kept packages of turkey breast, ham, and sometimes bacon in her fridge, believing they were reasonable, even healthy, options for a busy day. But after her doctor's warning, Helen took a closer look. And what she found left her stunned. Processed meats, like deli slices, bacon, sausages, and even canned meats, are packed with hidden dangers for the heart. Not only are they often loaded with sodium, which forces the heart to work harder, but they're also full of preservatives and nitrates that trigger inflammation inside the blood vessels. Over time, this silent inflammation builds up, hardening arteries, raising blood pressure, and setting the stage for heart disease. Helen realized that even though she wasn't eating fast food burgers or greasy fries, her daily sandwich was quietly sabotaging her health from the inside out. The problem with processed meats isn't just their salt. It's the chemicals used to preserve color and flavor, additives that make the meat look fresh and appealing but quietly burden the heart with every bite. What made it worse was how deceptively small the portions seemed. A few thin slices didn't look like much, but those few slices carried a heavy load of salt and chemicals straight to Helen's bloodstream. Day after day, meal after meal. She remembered the afternoon she decided to read the label on her favorite turkey package. Words like sodium nitrate, preservatives, and modified starch stared back at her, hidden among the fine print she had never paid attention to before. It felt like a betrayal. How could something so ordinary be so harmful? The truth hit her hard. If she wanted to protect her heart, she had to rethink even the smallest habits, starting with what went between her slices of bread. Helen's first small change was powerful. She swapped out the packaged meats for freshly cooked, unprocessed chicken breast, sliced by hand at home. No chemicals, no extra salt, no hidden danger. It wasn't always convenient. But each time she made that effort, she wasn't just preparing lunch. She was rebuilding her future, one small, conscious choice at a time. Because sometimes, the things we trust the most can be the ones hurting us the deepest. And the next food Helen had to confront was something she thought was harmless, even refreshing, until she learned the bitter truth hiding behind the sweetness. Helen never thought twice about her drinks. She had given up soda years ago, thinking she was making the right choice. Instead, she filled her fridge with what she believed were healthier options: bottled iced teas, flavored waters, and the occasional glass of orange juice in the morning. It seemed innocent enough. A refreshing drink to start the day, a cold tea on a warm afternoon. She even smiled when picking them out at the grocery store, choosing labels that said natural flavors and made with real fruit. But during one of her follow-up appointments, her doctor asked a simple but powerful question. "Helen, how much sugar are you drinking each day without realizing it?" That question opened a door Helen had never dared to walk through. Sugary drinks aren't just sodas. They include fruit juices, bottled teas, sports drinks, flavored coffees, all packed with sugar hidden behind friendly labels and pictures of fruit or fresh leaves. Helen learned that even a seemingly healthy glass of orange juice could contain as much sugar as a can of soda. Bottled teas, especially the sweetened ones she loved, were loaded with added sugars designed to keep people coming back for more. And the danger wasn't just about gaining a little weight. High sugar intake forces the body to produce more insulin, which over time damages the blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and weakens the heart muscle itself. The heart, already working harder with age, becomes strained trying to manage the chaos sugar creates in the bloodstream. Helen remembered one particular morning when she sat by her kitchen window, sipping her iced peach tea and watching the sun rise. It was a peaceful moment, but that bottle of tea, so simple, so sweet, was quietly working against her. The betrayal stung. Something that felt so harmless was silently adding to her risk of heart disease. After learning the truth, Helen made another small but powerful change. She started drinking plain water, sometimes infused with fresh lemon or mint from her garden. She switched her morning routine to unsweetened herbal tea. At first, it tasted strange, bland, almost empty. But within a few weeks, she noticed something remarkable. Her energy returned, her mornings felt lighter, her heart felt calmer. She realized that sweetness didn't have to come from sugar. It could come from the moments themselves. The sunrise, the laughter of her grandchildren, the simple act of taking care of her own life. And what Helen discovered next was hiding not in her drinks, but in the very spreads and baked goods she thought were safe, sitting quietly on her kitchen counter. Helen loved to bake. It was one of her deepest joys, something she had done since she was a little girl standing on a stool next to her mother's stove. Cookies, pies, biscuits. Her kitchen often smelled like a warm memory, sweet and familiar. She prided herself on keeping traditions alive, using old family recipes written in faded handwriting. And when she didn't have time to bake from scratch, Helen wasn't shy about picking up ready-made treats from the local grocery store, thinking a few cookies here and there couldn't possibly do much harm. But sitting in her doctor's office, she heard a term she hadn't thought about in years: trans fats. Trans fats were once common in everything from margarine to packaged cookies, crackers, and even pie crusts. Manufacturers loved them because they made food stay fresh longer and taste richer. But what Helen learned hit her hard. Trans fats are poison for the heart. Even small amounts can raise bad LDL cholesterol, lower good HDL cholesterol, inflame blood vessels, and dramatically increase the risk of heart attacks. Helen thought back to all the little shortcuts she had taken over the years: the margarine she spread on toast, the store-bought biscuits she kept for Sunday mornings, the packaged cookie trays she would pick up for family gatherings. Each bite, so small, so innocent, had been quietly building a storm inside her body. What made it worse was that even after trans fats were officially banned, many products still contain small amounts under loopholes that allow manufacturers to list 0 grams if the amount per serving is under a certain threshold. Helen remembered reading labels before, but she never thought to look for ingredients like partially hydrogenated oils. Those two words, hidden deep in the ingredients list, were the real villains, a quiet betrayal written in tiny letters. Once she knew the truth, Helen cleared her pantry without hesitation. She tossed out old margarine tubs, boxed pastries, pre-made cookie doughs. It wasn't easy. Some of those items had been staples in her home for decades. They held memories. But she realized that holding on to traditions at the cost of her heart wasn't an act of love. It was a slow form of harm. Helen replaced her old ingredients with real butter in moderation, olive oil for cooking, and whenever she baked, she used simple, whole ingredients she could trust. She learned that honoring the past didn't mean clinging to the habits that no longer served her. It meant creating new traditions, ones that nourished not just her soul, but also her body. And the next trap Helen uncovered was even sneakier because it disguised itself in foods that seemed comforting, savory, and almost necessary for a simple meal. Helen always believed she was careful with salt. She didn't add much to her cooking, never kept a salt shaker on the table, and even used light, canned soups when she wanted a quick meal on busy days. In her mind, salt was something you sprinkled, not something that could sneak into your body unnoticed. But one afternoon, during a heart health class at her community center, she learned a painful truth. Most of the salt harming her heart wasn't coming from her hands. It was already hidden inside the foods she was buying. Canned soups, frozen dinners, crackers, snack mixes, even seemingly innocent items like cottage cheese and bread, all packed with staggering amounts of sodium. Foods that felt safe, even wholesome, were actually making her heart work overtime every single day. Helen remembered how she often enjoyed a bowl of chicken noodle soup on chilly nights, feeling proud that she chose a low-fat option instead of something heavier. She had no idea that one can of soup could deliver almost an entire day's worth of sodium in just one meal. No warning labels, no obvious clues, just a quiet, steady burden on her heart. Too much sodium causes the body to retain fluid, forcing the heart to pump harder to move blood through swollen vessels. Over time, this extra effort wears down the heart muscle, increases blood pressure, and dramatically raises the risk of heart failure. Helen's doctor explained it simply. Salt doesn't have to taste strong to do strong damage. After that conversation, Helen went back to her pantry with new eyes. She read labels carefully. She noticed sodium content listed in tiny letters she had never paid attention to before. Some of her favorite healthy choices were hiding shocking amounts of salt. Helen didn't throw everything away overnight. Instead, she made small, steady changes. She switched to low-sodium versions when possible, learned to rinse canned vegetables underwater to remove excess salt, and started flavoring her meals with herbs, garlic, lemon, and pepper instead of reaching for the salt box. It wasn't about giving up flavor. It was about reclaiming control over her own health, about refusing to let silent enemies sneak into her kitchen and weaken the life she worked so hard to build. Helen realized that small daily choices, barely noticed, were either building her future or quietly dismantling it. And the final hidden danger she had to confront was one that seemed almost too ordinary, too harmless, found in the very breads and treats she thought were simply part of a normal, comforting day. Helen always thought of bread as the heart of a good meal. A warm dinner roll with supper, a slice of toast in the morning, a soft sandwich at lunch. It all felt so normal, so comforting, a ritual woven into her daily life for decades. Baking fresh bread on Sundays had been a family tradition when she was young, and even as the years passed, she held on to that simple pleasure. But what she didn't realize, what most people don't, is that many modern breads, pastries, and pasta dishes aren't what they used to be. Helen's doctor gently explained that highly refined carbohydrates, like white bread, packaged muffins, store-bought cakes, and processed pastas, break down into sugar in the body at an alarming rate. Faster than candy. Faster than a soda. The moment Helen took a bite of her favorite soft white sandwich bread, her body was flooded with glucose, spiking her blood sugar and forcing her heart to respond to a surge it was never designed to handle repeatedly. Over time, this cycle of spikes and crashes damages the blood vessels, increases insulin resistance, and places enormous stress on the cardiovascular system. It's a slow, silent assault, with each harmless bite setting the stage for future heart trouble. Helen remembered one rainy afternoon when she had made herself a grilled cheese sandwich with white bread, feeling cozy and content. She had no idea that meal, soft, buttery, nostalgic, was quietly demanding more from her heart than it could safely give. And it wasn't just bread. It was the breakfast muffins from the bakery, the simple pasta dinners, the crackers she nibbled on in the evenings. All stripped of fiber, all racing into her bloodstream like a hidden attack. The realization was painful at first. So much of what she loved, what felt familiar and safe, had been working against her health. But Helen refused to let sadness turn into defeat. Instead, she found new ways to honor her memories while protecting her future. She switched to whole grain breads full of real fiber, experimented with homemade baking using oats and almond flour, chose hearty pastas made from chickpeas or brown rice. She discovered that real food, whole, nourishing, honest, still had the power to comfort her soul without harming her body. Each small swap was a quiet revolution. Each better choice was a promise to herself, to her family, to the life she still had so much left to live. Because Helen knew now, it's not just about giving up the past. It's about building a future strong enough to carry every beautiful memory forward. And as we finish today's journey, there's one last truth Helen learned. One final gift she wants to share with you before we say goodbye. If you're still here with me, it means you care deeply about your health, just like Helen did. And that simple decision, to listen, to stay curious, to stay willing to learn, is the first and most powerful step toward a longer, richer life. Helen's story isn't unusual. It's the story of thousands of good people who trusted the wrong foods, who thought they were doing the right things, who never meant to harm their hearts, but almost lost everything because they didn't know the hidden dangers. But Helen made a choice. She chose to see. She chose to change, not through drastic, painful sacrifices, but through small, loving adjustments every day. And today, she moves through her world with a heart that is stronger, a spirit that is lighter, and a deep, quiet pride in knowing she fought for her own future. You have that same power inside you. Every time you choose real food over processed convenience, every time you pause to read a label, every time you remember that your heart has carried you through a lifetime of memories, you honor that life. You protect not just your body, but your joy, your independence, your precious moments still ahead. Maybe today is the day you clear out a shelf in your pantry. Maybe it's the day you swap a sugary drink for a glass of water with fresh lemon. Maybe it's the day you simply promise yourself that your heart deserves better. Whatever it is, know this. It's never too late. Your heart, no matter how tired it feels, still wants to carry you through many more beautiful years. It's waiting for you to protect it the way it has protected you all your life. If this video touched you, if Helen's journey reminded you of someone you love, or even of yourself, please take a moment now. Subscribe to this channel, leave a comment sharing your story or your thoughts, and like this video so it can reach others who might need this gentle reminder. Together, we can build a community where wisdom is power, where hope grows stronger with age, and where every heartbeat is honored. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for caring. Take care of your heart. It's the most faithful companion you've ever had. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and never stop believing in the beautiful life that still lies ahead.